Hey fellow Nevillers, here we are back again with a personal share of a Neville lecture and perceived wisdom as I see it. This morning I'm up in Three Propositions, dated 1959. This is a really important lecture by Neville. Well, it must be because my coach recommended it to me a year and a half ago and I've read it 3 or 4 times. It's pretty eye-opening. Neville discusses in this 3 propositions, i.e. the title. Real important. I'll read you the 3 propositions and then Neville shares how we can use this technique that he's going to discuss with us. So first of all, let's go over the 3 propositions that Neville shares with us. Here's how he opens the lecture. Well, my first proposition is this one. The individual state of consciousness determines the conditions and circumstances of his life. That's pretty obvious to me. I've been on the journey a year and a half, maybe 2 years, but possibly not to you fellow Nevillers. So we have to understand where our current state of consciousness is, or what's in our current state of consciousness, in order to change it. And that's what Neville shows us. So let's continue here. He says the second proposition is that man can select a state of consciousness, yea, with which he desires to be identified. And the third follows naturally. Therefore, man can be what he wants. Pretty obvious there, right? Then he continues here. If the first proposition is true, that the individual state of consciousness is the sole cause of the phenomena of his life, then the normal natural question asks, why doesn't he change it to a more desirable state? If he could change it, well, Neville says, that is not as easy as it appears, and I can attest to that. Today we hope to give you a technique to make it easier, but man finds it hard to leave the things which he has grown accustomed to. We are all grown stuck in the habitual. It may seem strange, but a very sordid cartoon appeared years ago. He says that is during the last war. You might have seen it. It came out in the New Yorker. Basically, it's an army boy that wants to get back home. He's missing home. And at home, it's filthy and squalid, dirty dishes. And the boy in the army wants to get back home. It's like, why do you want to do that? And like Neville has just said, we're stuck in the habitual. Man is stuck in the habitual. Now Neville shares this part. Now man finds it difficult to detach himself from the habitual. So this morning we have brought you these 3 propositions, and I hope I can make it clear you can, with this knowledge, apply it so you can realize your every objective. So, if I must be in the consciousness of the thing that I am seeking before I find it, then the only thing to do is to acquire that state of consciousness. I'm hoping you guys have got this part. So we have a current state of consciousness up here, what has been impressed in us from our life, parents, media, blah, blah, blah. We find out what it is, and then we can go about changing it. But first of all, we have to find out what it is. How do we do that? What we do is listen uncritically. Don't judge to your inner conversations, i.e. what you say on the inside, not what comes out of here, but what you say on the inside. Paul helps us out a little bit here. He says most of us do not even know what we mean by state of consciousness. To those who are here for the first time, it is simply meant by state of consciousness the sum total of all that a man believes and accepts and consents to as true. We'll leave this part of the lecture here. It's a big one. So what we've got to do is identify where we are currently in our state of consciousness. Once we've done that, then we can go about choosing a different state. Further on in the lecture, Neville tells us how we think, what we think from, and how we can go about changing our current state of consciousness. So I'll turn this into a 3 or 4 part series. I'm gathering, guys, that you understand your current state of consciousness. If you don't, rewatch this again and identify your current state of consciousness, which is everything you believe and accept as true. And you can only find that out by listening to your inner conversations. There's another lecture called Mental Diets that I've gone into and shared what's important from Neville there. That one will help you. I'll link it to this in the description and the cards up there that flash by, so you can choose to watch that. And your self-concept. Changing the feeling of I will really help here too. All right, fellow Nevillers, we'll leave this one right here. We'll elaborate later in the week with some more. Feel free to drop your questions down there. I'll blow you a big fat kiss, because that's what I do every day to everyone who's here. Leave a comment if you'd like, and a thumbs up. YouTube loves comments and it loves thumbs up. Thank you, fellow Nevillers. See you tomorrow. Bye.